For thousands of years, they lay silent, wrapped in linen and secrets. We thought we knew why. A desperate grab for immortality, a way to keep flesh from falling apart. But what if the whole elaborate business of Egyptian mummification was something much deeper? What if the embalmers weren't just doing a job, but were masters of a complex spiritual technology, using stuff and rituals so advanced that our cutting-edge science is only just starting to figure out what they were really up to? Get ready to look beyond the sarcophagus, because the story of mummification is far stranger and more mysterious than you ever thought. Ancient Egypt. Just saying the name brings up images of massive pyramids, gold-masked pharaohs, and of course, mummies. For ages, we've mostly seen mummification as this incredible way to preserve a body, keeping it intact for the trip to the afterlife. And yeah, the Egyptians were absolute wizards at it. But if we just see it as pickling a body, we're missing the huge, complex world of belief, ritual, and amazing chemical smarts that went into this sacred act. New discoveries, especially from checking out the gunk left in ancient embalming jars with high-tech chemistry, are showing us more. We're finding out the ingredients were more complicated, came from more exotic places, and were tied into their spiritual beliefs much more than we ever knew. This isn't just about stopping decay, it's about transformation, a carefully guided trip to eternity, using secrets that, even now, still have us scratching our heads. Section 1. The Art of Eternity, More Than Just Preservation. When most people picture mummification, they think of a few key things: taking out the organs, drying the body with natron salt, and wrapping it up in endless layers of linen. That's basically right, but it's like saying the Mona Lisa is just paint on canvas. The truth is, it was a super sophisticated, ritual-packed process that took up to 70 days, run by priests and specialized embalmers who really knew their stuff about human anatomy and chemistry. These people weren't just technicians, they were sacred artists. The head embalmer often wore a mask of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification and the afterlife, showing just how divine their work was. Every cut, every oiling, every layer of linen was loaded with ritual meaning. The organs they took out, the lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines, weren't just tossed. They were carefully preserved too, often put in special containers called canopic jars, each one protected by one of Horus's 4 sons, divine guardians for the afterlife. The heart, which they thought was where intelligence and feelings lived, was usually left in the body. It was crucial for the final judgment in the underworld. Recent archaeology has given us an amazing peek into this lost world. In 2016, they found an embalming workshop, a wabet, at Saqqara, a huge burial ground south of Cairo. This wasn't just any old workshop, it was a gold mine of over 100 ceramic pots, many still with labels saying what was in them and how to use them in the mummification process. It's like finding the ancient Egyptians' own how-to guide, a direct line to their sacred science. This find has really made us rethink what we thought we knew, pushing us beyond the physical steps to the real heart of their craft. Section 2. Whispers from the Clay Jars. The lost chemistry, that Saqqara workshop and its labeled jars. They've been a game-changer, letting scientists use fancy techniques like gas chromatography, mass spectrometry to check out the residues and unlock the chemical secrets inside. And what they've found is a list of ingredients far more complex and internationally sourced than anyone ever guessed. For a long time, old writings like those from Herodotus gave us the basics, but the chemical reality, it's blowing minds. The embalmers used a fancy mix of stuff, oils and tars from cedar, juniper, and cypress trees, known for fighting off microbes. Pistachio resin, which was pretty valuable, was used a lot, along with castor oil and various animal fats. Beeswax, when heated and put on, would have helped seal the skin and keep out moisture. Bitumen, that thick, oily stuff, was also a key ingredient, especially in later times. But some of the finds were real shockers. The analysis showed elemi resin and dama resin, stuff that doesn't come from Egypt or even anywhere nearby in the Mediterranean. It might have come all the way from tropical forests in Southeast Asia or Africa. This hints at huge ancient trade networks stretching thousands of miles, all to get the perfect ingredients for eternal life. Plus, this high-tech chemical analysis has helped us correctly identify things that old texts got wrong. For instance, something called antiu, which people thought for ages was myrrh or incense, turned out to be a complex mix of cedarwood oil, juniper or cypress oil, and animal fats. Another ingredient from the history books, sefet, was found to be a scented, fat-based ointment, probably jazzed up with specific plant bits, sometimes including those exotic tropical resins. They were incredibly precise. Some of the sakara jars were labeled for use on specific body parts, like the head, or for treating the liver, or even for the linen wrappings themselves. For example, it looks like pistachio resin and castor oil were specifically for treating the head. This means the embalmers weren't just using a one-size-fits-all recipe, they were tweaking their complex chemical mixes for the different preservation challenges of different tissues. It suggests a deep, hands-on knowledge of how these substances worked with the body, built up over centuries, maybe even millennia. This wasn't just folk magic, it was a highly advanced chemical science, all aimed at cheating death itself. We're even learning that the mummies gave off woody, spicy and sweet smells, hinting at the quality and variety of materials used, which probably also related to how rich or important you were. Section 3. Beyond the physical form, rituals, beliefs, and the soul's journey. But if we only look at Egyptian mummification through its chemicals and physical steps, we're just seeing a tiny part of what it really meant. For the ancient Egyptians, keeping the body preserved was absolutely vital for life to go on after death. Their ideas about the soul were pretty complicated. They pictured things like the Kai, the life force or spiritual twin, which would stay with the body in the tomb and needed food offerings. Then there was the Bay, often shown as a human-headed bird, representing the personality and soul. The Bay Day could travel between the living world and the tomb, but it always needed to come back to the preserved body. Lastly, the Ak, the transformed spirit, had to get through the dangers of the underworld to reach a blessed eternal life. If the physical body was destroyed, these spiritual parts would be lost, and their journey to eternity would be tragically over. The whole mummification process was deeply tied to the myth of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. He was murdered, chopped up, and then magically put back together and mummified by his wife Isis and the god Anubis. Osiris became the very first mummy, and by doing that became the symbol of resurrection and hope for eternal life for all Egyptians. So, when someone was mummified, they were, in a way, becoming Osiris, hoping to beat death just like he did. That 70-day embalming period wasn't just for drying out the body. It was packed with rituals. Priests chanted incantations and spells, often from holy texts like the Book of the Dead, which was like a travel guide for the deceased through the underworld. Putting the sacred oils and resins on the body wasn't just for preservation. It was a holy act, purifying the dead person and getting them ready for rebirth. Each layer of linen bandage often came with specific prayers and the placing of protective amulets meant to keep away evil spirits and make sure the journey was safe. The grand finale of these rituals was the opening of the mouth ceremony. This powerful ritual, done on the mummy or its coffin right before burial, involved a priest touching different parts of the mummy, especially the mouth, eyes, and ears, with special tools. This was believed to magically bring the senses back to life, letting the deceased speak, eat, see, and hear in the afterlife, all set to enjoy its offerings and pleasures. Even the smallest details could have huge symbolic meaning. For example, King Tutankhamun was mummified in an unusual way, with his penis preserved in an erect position. Some experts think this was a deliberate nod to Osiris, the god of fertility and resurrection, maybe as a powerful statement about life and a rejection of his father Akhenaten's controversial religious changes. These weren't just random choices, they were carefully thought-out parts of a huge spiritual mission. It's pretty mind-blowing how much the ancient Egyptians understood, isn't it? If you're as fascinated by the hidden knowledge of the ancient world as we are and want to join us as we dig up more of history's biggest mysteries, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. You really won't want to miss what we explore next. Section 4. The Veils That Remain, Secrets We Still Can't Grasp. Even with all the amazing progress in archaeology and science, a lot about Egyptian mummification is still stubbornly mysterious. That we still can't grasp part of our journey? That's maybe the most exciting bit. While we can now name many of the exotic resins like elemi and dammer found in those embalming stashes, we're still figuring out the full details of their trade routes and exactly how they got them. How did these ancient Egyptians set up and keep supply chains going across such huge distances, crossing deserts and seas to get these precious ingredients? The sheer logistics are mind-boggling. And then, even though we know the individual ingredients, understanding how these complex chemical cocktails work together is another big puzzle. The Egyptians clearly knew which combinations were best for certain things. To keep insects away, stop bacteria from growing, keep tissues flexible, or give off a sacred smell. But the exact why and how, some of these things worked at a molecular level. We're still piecing that together. Were there subtle effects, maybe even psychoactive ones, from the scented stuff used in rituals that we just don't get yet? New studies looking at the actual scent profiles of mummies are opening up new ideas, suggesting the aroma itself was a key part, maybe meaning purity or a divine presence. Then there's all the oral tradition and priestly knowledge that almost certainly went along with the physical acts of mummification. The texts that survived, like the Book of the Dead or the Pyramid texts, give us clues, but they were probably just notes or reminders for rituals and knowledge passed down from master to student inside the secret world of embalming workshops and temple areas. What exact words were said over each bandage? What was the full order and symbolic meaning of every gesture during that 70-day process? So much of this detailed ritual dance might be lost to time. We also keep finding differences in mummification methods across different times and social classes, and even in different places. Embalmers in faraway oases, for example, had to get more creative with local materials when natron or pricey imported resins were hard to come by. They even sometimes made composite mummies from the parts of several people. The incredible adaptability and local flavors of these practices show a living, changing tradition, not just a fixed set of rules. And what about the very earliest stages of mummification? Evidence now suggests that basic embalming recipes were being used over 6,000 years ago, way before the pharaohs, pushing the origins of this sacred science even further back into the mists of time. Interpreting the symbolism is also still up for debate. While some symbols are pretty well understood, others are still puzzles, their full cultural and religious meaning perhaps only partly clear to us. Every new tomb dug up, every mummy looked at with new tech could rewrite parts of what we know, but also give us fresh mysteries to solve. The sarcophagi of ancient Egypt have given up their physical occupants, but the full story of mummification, it's nowhere near finished. It was so much more than just a way to preserve things. It was a sophisticated mix of science, art, and incredibly deep spiritual belief. The embalmers weren't just workers, they were skilled chemists and holy ritualists, using complex recipes of resins, oils, and animal products gathered from all over the known world, each picked for its special properties and symbolic power. They painstakingly prepared the body not just to stop decay, but to turn it into a vessel fit for eternity. A sahu, a glorified spiritual body ready to travel the afterlife and join the gods. Through high-tech chemical analysis of gunk in ancient jars and new archaeological finds, we're getting closer to the secrets of their craft. We're amazed by their practical knowledge of natural stuff and their dedication to the spiritual journey. Yet, for all we've figured out, a deep sense of mystery remains. The exact details of their sacred rites, the full meaning behind their complex symbols, and a complete understanding of their complicated chemical brews still have parts that tease us and slip through our modern fingers. The ancient Egyptians believed they were making immortality, and in a way they pulled it off. Their practices still speak to us across thousands of years, a testament to a civilization that dealt with life, death, and the promise of forever in ways we're still trying to fully get our heads around. The sarcophagus is open, but the deepest secrets of Egyptian mummification are still, fascinatingly, beyond our complete understanding. What part of Egyptian mummification blows your mind the most? Was it their incredible chemical know-how, their deep spiritual beliefs, or the crazy trade networks that supplied their sacred ingredients? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And if you found this trip into the ancient past as cool as we did, please give this video a like and think about subscribing for more adventures into the world's greatest mysteries. Thanks for watching.